All right, so you won't believe what happened. We just filmed this whole entire video and then another video, and then we realized the audio wasn't working. Nothing. It's like, oh my gosh. So we're redoing this, but that's okay. New things will happen. Like, I found this huge zucchini. We let it grow a little too big, but look at that. It's like a baseball bat. We're going to make some zucchini bread with that. That's going to be exciting. All right, so today the video that we already recorded, but I wanted to show you guys, is how to propagate basil. I posted a picture of us propagating basil, and I got lots of feedback on Facebook comments as well as Facebook messages and on Instagram too. I just learned how to use Instagram, so I'm now on Instagram with Set Apart Health. You can look it up on there on Instagram. Make sure you follow us on there. And if you have any tips on how to use it, I'm still learning how to use all that stuff. The hashtags, all that, whatever that means. That would be great, would be helpful. So I wanted to teach you guys how to propagate basil because it's so easy and you can make so many basil plants, give away to your friends. You can make unlimited amounts of pesto. We can literally feed the world with just basil plants since it's so easy to propagate them. And what propagating simply means, it just means to root a cutting or to make another plant from a mother plant. The mother plant is that one plant that you got. Right, so let me show you here one that has nice roots in here. Look at these nice roots on this little basil plant, right? So all you do is you just cut a cutting from a basil plant, and then you put it in water and it'll root, and I'll show you the details on how to do that. Let's go in a little closer and show you my basil plants that I actually propagated, and this was about maybe a month and a half or 2 months ago now. They've been growing in our raised beds. Let me show you guys a close-up of what that looks like. All right, so here are my basil plants, and I've picked and picked and picked from these. So these are actually not full size. These are like really picked from. But you see all these basils here? This row is actually some that I propagated, and even in this row too, I propagated some, and I let it grow in here in the dirt, and it's been growing now for about a month and a half or 2 months now. It got huge and nice and bushy, and a really neat trick to learn how to grow your basil bushy. And what I mean by that is when basil is growing kind of lanky, just one real long strand, and it's not getting bushy and big, what you do is, like for example, I don't know if you guys can see this one right here, and I'll cut it and I'll propagate this, but notice this long stem right here, right? When we see long stems like that, that means that the growth is going up, it's not going sideways, and we want sideways growth, because that's going to make lots more sets of new leaves. So you just cut the stems and just keep cutting. The more you use basil, the more it'll grow. And you see these are so bushy and growing out, and that's what you want, okay? So when you prune, quote unquote, your basil, what you do is then you can propagate those cuttings that you use, right? So let me cut a little more here. So this is a perfect cutting, right? You want about 3 or 4 inches. It can be bigger than that, but 3 or 4 inches works really well. And this looks really good. This is some Italian basil that I grew and propagated. And then this is some purple basil or opal basil. And let me grab a cutting from this guy. Right, so this is some nice growth here that we got going on. I'll show you how to root that. And then I got some Thai basil here as well, right? And don't fear, cutting basil is actually a good thing. It'll just keep branching and branching and branching. And that's what you want. You want to encourage branching. And then Thai basil actually has like a licorice-like taste. If you never had opal basil, I love it. I could almost use it as lettuce almost. My wife thinks it's a little spicy or peppery, but I like that. And then regular Italian basil, and then I got some Genovese basil over there. So these are my basil plants propagated. These are started from seed. Again, keep cutting them, and I'll show you what to do with these cuttings and how to propagate them so you can get more plants like this. You can double, triple, quadruple your crop. Exciting stuff. Let me show you how that works. All right, so we're back at our propagation station. I'm ready to propagate some basil. All right, so this is again my opal basil, purple basil. It's so good. And all you need is a little mason jar. I have these little ones. I love those. They work really well for smaller cuttings. If you have 6-inch or longer cuttings, this works well. But we'll do these little tiny cuttings today. And what you want to do is you don't want to simply just put it in water without removing the bottom leaves. You don't want any leaves touching that water or submerged in the water. The reason is they'll actually start rotting, and then the stems will rot, and then you won't get any root production. So what I'm doing is I'm actually removing all the bottom leaves off like this. And believe it or not, this will root. This is all you need. You just stick that in the dirt. You can do the same thing with all these little branches. Take all the bottom leaves off, like this one right here, just like that. And you can stick it in a smaller mason jar, etc., etc. The same thing with like these bigger cuttings right here. Look at these nice leaves on this basil. You just take the bottom leaves off like that, and then you just stick that in the water. The trick is, and I learned this the hard way, is that you can't just stick it in water and leave it for about a week to 2 weeks. That's about what it takes for the basil to make some really nice roots for you. You have to change the water at least every day, if not every other day, that's fine too. But you just stick it in there. It'll start absorbing all that water, pour that water out, add some new water. Within a week or two, you'll actually notice that they'll start creating some root production. Okay, so let me show you again what that root production looks like. Look at these beautiful roots on this basil plant. This was about a week and a half. It produced some beautiful roots. And then what you do is have a little tiny pot, or you can actually, I just stuck mine in the raised beds, but it was a little cooler then when I did that. Right now I wouldn't recommend it because it's too hot. But you can just stick this in and then slowly wean it outdoors and get it used to outdoors. All right, so one thing I did forget to mention is that, well, let me grab this over here, is that when you do have these little basil bouquets for propagation, make sure you have them indoors, not in the sunlight. Otherwise, your plant is going to start photosynthesizing, trying to make more leaves, trying to use that energy up. What you want is for that to be go indoors, and then it'll focus on root production, which is what you want. And then you have some nice cuttings that you can plant. You have lots of basil to eat to make some fun pesto, or basil, tomato, zucchini, fun things like that. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, subscribe. If you have any questions, put those in the comments below, and I'd be glad to answer any of those that you have. All right, thank you.